Welcome to the second part of how I studied for each basic science course. We're going to be going through 3rd to 5th sem. Stay tuned. So for neuro, what we did was basically for questions, he gave us a lot of questions, a lot of formatives, and he also suggested that we did BRS neuro. As for info, I focused on his lecture slides. He also published a book known as 100 Concepts of Neuro. So I would use that usually to review because all of our exams are cumulative. So if I had one block to study for, I'd focus on the slides, and then for review, I'd go back to the book. There was also Boards and Beyond. That was very helpful for strokes. So if there's like a vascular infarction, you have an issue with one part of the brain, the rule of 4s, Boards and Beyond is perfect for that, helping simplify that. And then also he had a book that was like the anatomy photo atlas, and it's for neuroscience to help you not just have to remember words, but you can actually see where things are located on the brain. And of course, you would use Uworld and First Aid for review when you're trying to study for shelf. Micro and immuno. So there is a life-saving resource known as Sketchy. I swear by my life that Sketchy is the reason I got the good grades that I got in micro, because you get to study with cartoons. And the narrator is hilarious. So you get comedy, cartoons, and you're passively learning, but you're learning because from things I learned in this semester, they followed me all throughout the semester. And even when I was prepping for STEP, like if you gave me a bacteria's name, the image popped up in my head. So that's what I love about Sketchy. It's not for everybody, unfortunately. If you're not a visual learner, if you prefer, I know I had one friend who told me she did like a one sheet where she would write all the facts and information. That's what she did for micro, but my life is owed to Sketchy, so I'm gonna support Sketchy. All that free promo, you guys are welcome. On top of that, I did practice questions from Lippincott's microbiology and immunology. And then there was also a book called Medical Microbiology by Murray. I used that as well for practice questions for micro. So for the info, like I said, Sketchy, lectures. As for, there was also a review slide where the girl basically took the Sketchy sketches and then she would put them into like PowerPoint mode so you could look directly at the image, and I would actually write on the screen everything I remembered from the image, and then I'd flip over to see what she had listed, and then I'd just keep doing that until I basically got enough of the information down. Also, Boards and Beyond, because immunology is not that easy to learn, and Boards and Beyond helps simplify that information. I will always talk about how Boards and Beyond simplifies. So yes, if you need help with immunology, start with Boards. Lastly, shelf. I used a whole slew ton of Uworld questions. I won't lie and say I actually used First Aid because I didn't, but it's always a suggestion because there was a lot of basic bacteriology, like the intro to bacteriology on my shelf exam, and I missed almost all of those questions because I did not remember that stuff. Also, and I almost forgot to mention this, with immuno, because it's so many different diseases and everything that can exist, I've started to make posters, what I call the mega posters, and I'm gonna show you that next. My 4th sim was focused on Pharm and the first part of Path, which was the majority of Path, and then also one of the PD courses. For simplification, I'm going to put Path into my 5th semester, and I'm gonna just focus on Pharm because we've already talked about PD. So for Pharm, Sketchy again. Swear by Sketchy. It's thanks to Sketchy that I got to be in the course. There was a lot of information during one block that it was a lot. It was too much, but I'm grateful for the B. So for Pharm, I used also Kaplan Pharm for practice questions, and I used Pharmacology examination and board review for more questions. And I had TA review slides. I don't know if I can share those, and I don't know how helpful it would be for you guys because we all have different professors, but she helps us to focus on the high yield stuff that the teachers would probably test. And then for shelf, of course, Uworld. And we've made it to the final course we're going to be discussing in basic sciences, and that is Path. Now, this is why you need to get histo down first semester, because it follows you to Path. And in Path, you get a bigger image, you get a lot of the clinical diagnoses, so it's a lot more enjoyable than histo per se, but you do need that basic foundation. So for questions, I did Uworld. I literally went through every single Uworld Path question because I started with it on my first semester. And then he also kept promoting Reubens pathology and Reubens pathology, so I did almost all the questions that I possibly could to be on top of the information. So for info, I would use Pathoma. What he does is he's like another boards. He helps simplify those Path concepts. I would use Pathoma when it was time to review for the cumulative exams. So I would focus on the lecture slides for that current block. But then when it was time for review, I would go to Pathoma. Also, what's great about him is he has textbooks and videos, so you get both. I would also use videos, let's say if I wasn't getting a Path concept, and I used Pathoma especially for my step review. Again, for shelf, Uworld, major key. I went into Path shelf. I wasn't happy after I left Path shelf, but that ended up being my second highest raw score on shelf. So do all the Uworld that you possibly can. And also, if you need the foundations of pathology, you would use first aid for reviewing that. And last but not least, my mega posters. So I told you guys I was gonna show you this. These things would just be hanging on my walls or all over my floors so that I was constantly seeing the information. This one right here is about vasculitis. So I get a little visual and then I help to categorize them and the key information about each vasculitis. That's my little mega posters tidbit. And then also, because this isn't the cheapest option, especially on an island, to buy, I think one more pack of this would have been $60. So what I ended up doing for my second part of Path was I started doing virtual notes, and I will show you guys those in 2 seconds. As promised, these are my virtual notes. As you can see, I have a whole lot of them, a whole lot. But, and I even used this for step prep. So I did a lot of both compare, contrasting going on. I have images. I have, yeah, just those types of things. I think MSK has the most images in my notes. So I have gone through all the major basic science courses, how I studied for them. Again, as I said in a previous video, you don't want to completely neglect everything you've ever learned, all your study styles, all of that stuff, just to accommodate with what I'm doing and what I've done. Everybody's brain works differently. I noticed for, I think it was for the comp exam, I had 2 mentors, the top 2 students in the class. And one of them was like, first aid's all you need. And the other one was like, questions is all you need. And what I had to do was I was like, you guys are both very intelligent. You're both very successful. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of find an in-between, because I can't just do questions, especially if I don't really know the information. And I can't just read information, because then I'm gonna lose my mind and be bored and go crazy. So I had to find that nice little happy medium. That's what I'm hoping you guys will do with my information, is find your happy medium and not just try to become me, okay? Or do my study styles. That is it for a basic science review. Next video, step prep. And it has been brought to my attention that I must return just to make sure that you guys know to like and subscribe. But hopefully you got that by now.